Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Language Arts Gallery. We've been talking a lot about artificial intelligence in the language learning classroom, particularly generative AI in the academic writing classroom. So in today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can help our academic writing students to evaluate the output that they get from ChatGPT when they're putting their writing prompts into the AI. And also for my academic writing students, this is going to help you to ensure that when your teacher gives you a writing prompt, that you're giving the AI the appropriate input so that you can get the output that you need. So let's go ahead and let's get started.
So we've talked about how we can engineer prompts to get the desired output from the AI, but sometimes the output that we get, we need to change a little bit to make sure that it conforms to what our teachers are asking us for. So let's take a look at this sample, and this is actually something that I got from ChatGPT. Okay, we have to remember that what we get from ChatGPT is not going to be perfect. We're going to have to edit it, and we're going to perhaps have to go back and change our prompts a bit to get output that is more consistent with what our teacher is asking for. So here we've got the following prompt. I need an essay with 5 paragraphs written at the B1 level of English that talks about how science influences what we eat. So right away, I can look at this and I see we've got some changes that need to be made. Okay, first of all, we've got paragraph headings, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3. We don't write like that. That's not consistent with academic writing. We don't label our introduction. We write in a more narrative format. So certainly that's something that has to change. And also, if we count up the number of paragraphs here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's not consistent with what our prompt is asking for, which is a 5-paragraph essay. So first, we're going to want to eliminate these paragraph headings, right? Now, ChatGPT has really gotten better with this. They still do include it sometimes, but occasionally I'll put prompts in and it'll give me an essay that's more consistent with the narrative format. But you always want to check the output that you're getting from ChatGPT. It's not always going to be perfect. Also, if we look at the sentences, the first sentence of each paragraph, it's not indented. Very often ChatGPT will leave a space between paragraphs. We don't want to do that. We want to indent each new paragraph, okay? So those are stylistic elements. Now we need to get more into the essay itself. We've got 6 paragraphs, right? And we don't want that. We want 5 paragraphs. Okay, so we're going to need to adapt our prompt in order to do this. It says, I need an essay with 5 paragraphs written at the B1 levels of English that talks about how science influences what we eat. Now, we talked about the importance of being specific with the AI. Here we see an example of this. The first paragraph should be an introduction. The second, third, and fourth paragraphs should each discuss one of the ways that science influences what we eat. The 5th paragraph should be a conclusion. So now I've specified for that AI exactly what I want. So we talked about stylistic features. So now we're going to talk about how we can evaluate the output from ChatGPT based on the required rhetorical features of an academic essay. So I've got a sample prompt here. It says, many zoos provide life-saving treatments to animals that can't live on their own in the wild. They also offer educational opportunities for young people. On the other hand, many wild animals are kept in captivity as a result. Local lawmakers are considering shutting down the local zoo and returning the animals to the wild. Write a persuasive essay on whether or not the zoo should be closed. So this is the output here that I've gotten. Now I need to check for the rhetorical features and those that are missing. So I'm going to go here. The first thing I notice is that the hook is a bit too long. Remember, the hook is the first sentence that's designed to get the reader's attention. And this runs a little too long. We want to either have a short, powerful statement perhaps engage the reader with some statistics, a shocking fact, maybe a famous quote. Here, what I might do is I might shorten this just to say, local zoos serve a crucial role in the community. Okay, that would be a great way to engage the reader. It's very simple, but it's still powerful. Another thing that I notice is there are no thesis maps. There's no thesis map here. I need a thesis map that talks about what each paragraph is going to discuss. So I'm going to need to add that. Okay, and if I look at each topic sentence here, it says it's a sanctuary for animals that can't survive in the wild. It's pivotal to conservation efforts and their educational benefits. So I'm going to want to discuss each of those 3 points somewhere in the introduction before I mention my thesis statement. Now, talking about my thesis statement, when I look at this, it says, I strongly advocate for keeping the zoo open. Now, this depends on what teachers are asking for. Some teachers are okay with students writing in the first person, but we want to remember that in academic essays, we want to use the third person, right? We want to avoid the first person so we can establish a more academic tone. So we're going to want to change this. We'll change it to something like, local lawmakers should not close the local zoo, or local lawmakers should reconsider their efforts to close the local zoo. Now, do we want to do anything about paragraph organization? This depends on what teachers are looking for. Here we've got a 4th body paragraph that is devoted to counter arguments. And we see language like critics argue. That helps the reader to know that we're going to be addressing counter arguments. I always think it's best if we include those counter arguments in the 3 body paragraphs. We want to address the counter arguments and refute them. So if you want to do that, you need to change that in your prompt. Okay, so let's talk about adapting prompts. I personally make my prompts very specific, but very often students are going to encounter prompts that are less specific. So here we've got an example. It says, there's a strong parent-led campaign in your city to cut down on homework assignments given to students. As a student, however, you feel homework is essential to promoting learning. Write an essay arguing your stand by giving specific examples and statistics to show the benefits of homework. Now, if we just copied that and pasted that into AI, ChatGPT is probably not going to give us what we want. It's certainly not going to be consistent with the rhetorical features of an academic essay. So we need to engineer this prompt a bit better. Okay, this is the output that we get for this prompt. This is actually when I put this prompt into ChatGPT, this is what I got. So we can see here that we've got some stylistic things that need to change. We've got paragraph headings that need to go away. We certainly do not want these headings here. So we're going to want to remove each of those. We don't need a label for our conclusion. So those all need to go. We also know that we need to indent our paragraphs and not have white space in between them. So if we wanted to re-engineer this prompt so that we were going to get an essay that was consistent with the rhetorical features of an academic essay, we could do something like this. Write a 5-paragraph academic essay that answers the following prompt. Now, here I'm asking the AI to answer this prompt. Okay, and I'm putting that in quotes right there. So that is the input data that the AI needs. So it knows the question it's supposed to answer. Then it says the first paragraph should be an introduction that should engage the reader. There's my hook. Mention the 3 big reasons. Okay, there's my thesis map, and contain a thesis statement. Then I go into my body paragraphs. The second paragraph should address the first main point. The third paragraph should address the second main point. And the 4th paragraph should address the third main point. The 5th paragraph should be a conclusion that restates the thesis. summarizes the three big ideas, and calls the audience to act. So there I've got all the rhetorical features of a conclusion, and I remind the AI that paragraphs 2, 3, and 4 should cite statistics. So let's take a look at the output that ChatGPT gives us. So when I look at this, it looks a lot better. Okay, it's still not indented, but this looks good. Okay, even though we've re-engineered our prompt and we've gotten a much better essay, we still can make some changes to make it better. When I look at this, I look at the paragraphs. Firstly, secondly, thirdly. It really feels like a list to me, first, second, third. And I want to change those to give it a more narrative format. I might say to begin, further, in addition, right? So I'm going to want to substitute some transition words there. So besides just being able to get ChatGPT to help produce output, to produce academic essays, we can use it for other things in our writing. Brainstorming ideas for an academic essay, finding statistics or evidence. And you see I've got a little star here. I'm going to come back to this. Checking and editing our spelling, our grammar. Asking ChatGPT to give us suggestions about style, voice, stance, and perspective. And we've talked about those in previous videos. Adding in transitions and changing the level of language, right? You could say, rewrite this at a C1 level of English. You can ask ChatGPT to write prompts for ChatGPT. If you're having trouble creating a prompt that is going to give you an academic essay that conforms to the rhetorical features of academic writing, you can say to ChatGPT, interview me, ask me about what features are required in my essay, and then use the input I give you to create a prompt so that I can write an effective academic essay using ChatGPT. Now, going back to statistics and evidence here, you have to remember that sometimes ChatGPT will cite fictitious studies just to illustrate a point. This is not always the case, but you have to read the output fully and always double check those statistics, right? So this is really important to be aware of. And it's important when you want to cite info that comes from ChatGPT, but it's also important because if we're using ChatGPT, it's always good to say, hey, this was AI generated.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for another video at the Language Arts Gallery. Today, what we talked about when we talked about generative AI, this is super important. And I hope you guys remember that AI can be a really useful tool in the academic writing classroom. But also we have to remember that it doesn't take the place of our knowledge of the features of an academic essay, right? And remember, AI in general, it's built to augment human intelligence, not to replace it. So we have to be able to evaluate the output that ChatGPT gives us. And in order to do that, we have to know what we're looking for, right? So in order to do that, we have to know what a good academic essay includes. So please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Tell me how you're using generative AI, either in your writing classroom or for your writing assignments. And I'll see you in our next video at the Language Arts Gallery.